What's up, guys? This is Geo, and welcome back to another episode of Geo Talks Meta. In this episode, we're going to be going over how the results of Baton Pass of the Baton Pass suspect, to generalize it, and more specifically, we're going to be going over the results of the voting, how Baton Pass has evolved, and what the new Baton Pass teams look like. So for those of you who didn't know, the test for suspect test for Baton Pass did end up finishing option 1, which was keep the meta as it is, got 8 votes, which is not surprising. Option 3, which was ban Baton Pass altogether, got 17, and option 2, which was the one that I was in favor of, which is ban Baton Pass on, or only allow 3 Baton Pass users per team, got a vote of 40. So options 2 and 3, in order to be eligible, had to get a supermajority, which was like 60 or 75%. They ended up getting 87.6% of the votes. And so option 2 ended up winning out, which means that Baton Pass is only allowed on 3 Pokemon. So this means that Dennis's old Baton Pass team, which was like Vaporeon, Smeargle, Sylveon, Espeon, Scolipede, and one other Pokemon that I can't remember right now, that team is out the window, and that team can no longer be used in OU, which in all actuality, that's actually a really good thing. Baton Pass in that format was nearly unbeatable, but it wasn't worth like a full ban. And about a week later, this thread was started by Mega Scissor, a fairly respected member in the Smogon community, and he basically says that he didn't think Baton Pass was nerfed as much. Basically, once things start getting set up, and you really only have to give it one turn to start getting set up, then it just gets crushed. That it like crushes nearly every other team. But X5 Dragon here actually makes a very, very good point that Baton Pass is a legitimate playstyle, especially with the nerf. And what people need to realize is that with Baton Pass, it's actually a very hard playstyle to perfect. And with 6 Pokemon, it was where that most people could just pick it up and play it and reach a fairly decent rating. But now with only 3 Pokemon knowing Baton Pass, it takes both a very skilled team builder and someone with a mastery of Baton Pass to take on, or to basically use the team effectively. And someone else in this thread mentioned that, they hit Baton Pass, this Baton Pass team, which I'm going to show you in a second, 3 separate times. The first 2 people, which weren't Dennis, then Dennis is the Baton Pass master. The first 2 people, you can beat Baton Pass by like hitting or by like applying constant offensive pressure, which isn't a problem for most teams. But he said when he faced Dennis, it was like every move that he normally made was like predicted out the gate. And so that just shows that, like, look, just because like Dennis made Baton Pass famous and is like the god of Baton Pass, doesn't mean that Baton Pass is super easy. And like it's not that just like everyone else can pick it up really easily. But yeah, so as Mega Scissor continues the thread, he says, "Yeah, I'm glad I started this because I do feel a little better. My main concern is someone leading off something that Scolipede can set up on, and then having the game be over with SBN a +4 defense and +2 speed with the ability to set up Calm Minds. Smash Pass is way worse than this, in the sense that Smash Pass is pretty awful without perfect circumstances. But yeah, we'll take back my notion that Baton Pass hasn't been nerfed at all. It definitely now requires more thought by the user, and that is good." And then he mentions one downside to the nerf was the only problem is that it requires more thought from Dennis, and that everyone will just copy him. So that basically teams are just going to become Dennis's new team. And so I suppose it's a good time to take a look at this team right now. Dennis is under the alt Suck My Nick, which is actually kind of funny, on the near side of the screen, and he's playing someone's name that I don't care to pronounce right now. This guy is running a taunt Talonflame, but since he had never seen this variant of Dennis's Baton Pass team before, he didn't know what this Deoxys S was gonna do. So that explains his play on the first turn. But basically, what this Deoxys S is it's a dual screen Stealth Rocks and Taunt to basically shut down setup sweepers from the get-go that try to set up on it and wreck the rest of the Baton Pass chain. Gets up rocks to help deal with Charizard, and screens to support the first member that Dennis decides to send out. So, we're just going to call him Jay for the purposes of this. Switches out into a Azumarill as, Dennis is able to get up, both of his screens. Azumarill does about 52% with a knockoff, which is fairly good, so this is a bulky Deoxys S. It gets up his rocks, and the second knockoff isn't going to be able to knock it off, or knock it out. And this looks like Bandit Azumarill, because, he doesn't go for Aqua Jet, but now he's able to taunt to prevent the Belly Drum. So here comes Scolipede, and this is where the old Baton Pass team kind of functions like this one. Only in some ways better off the get-go, but gets gradually worse over time. So because Dennis was able to come in and set up his screens, Scolipede is way bulkier than it should be right now, meaning that it can take pretty much any hit and proceed to set up speed boosts and iron defenses and get a sub up. And the reason that the screens are so beneficial to this team is that because it helps support the Baton Pass team early, which is really the hardest part about Baton Pass, because once you get like +6 defense on each side, then you can kind of set up offensive stuff freely. But now he's forced to switch, and he goes into his Latias, which is a pretty good move, because as we'll see on this next turn, Latias does pack the defog, meaning he's gonna be able to get rid of all the screens on the field and be able to break Scolipede subs with Psyshock, despite the fact that it's at +4. So right here, Dennis is gonna go for a sub, thinking he's going to be able to tank the hit. But Psyshock is gonna be able to break the sub. And at this point in the battle is where I feel, at least, Jay made a misplay, because he can continue to break subs with Psyshock right now. Instead, he opts to go for a Draco Meteor, which will break Scolipede's sub, but also allows basically a free Baton Pass for Dennis, now that he's at +4/+4. Jay is going to go out in a Talonflame to hopefully taunt something, but Smeargle ends up coming out, and because Smeargle will be faster than the taunt, Jay decides to switch out into Dugtrio, predicting the Spore and trying to sack Dugtrio to Sleep Fodder, so he still has this Baton Pass check around. However, Dennis predicts this very nicely, ends up going for the Ingrain. And this is where things start to go downhill very quickly, and this is kind of how this new Baton Pass team functions, because Scolipede, Smeargle, and Espeon are the main core, and those are the three that do carry Baton Pass. And then you have Stored Power, and you have Clefable, which would probably look something to the effect of Soft Boiled, Moonblast, Stored Power, and Substitute, probably. And then you have Vaporeon, which probably has Wish, Scald, Stored Power, and Substitute. But anyway, at this point, Dennis is able to put the Baton Pass check to sleep. Goes into Vaporeon, and this is where things start to go downhill really fast, because Vaporeon is going to be able to get a sub up, as Talonflame does wake up on this turn, gets fairly good sleep rolls, is going to be able to get the taunt off, but at this point it is far too late. And so this is why a lot of people weren't happy with the Baton Pass nerf, because if you don't play the new Baton Pass team correctly, it will defeat you. But in my opinion, that's kind of a healthy thing in the metagame, is that if you don't play something correctly, then you should deserve to lose, because it shouldn't be to where you can pretty much just recover from anything. But at this point, Jay is going to just forfeit, and Dennis has been laddering on this account with his new Baton Pass team, and if we jump over to the OU ladder, actually someone just recently topped Dennis, but Dennis is at 1998. He's top 10 on the ladder with this, which is actually really fascinating, and that's very impressive that Dennis is able to pull this off. And then we have people up here who don't like Baton Pass and whatnot. Dennis's old account is starting to decay, but that's whatever. So that is basically what Baton Pass has turned into, basically a lead Baton Pass Core, and then 2 Pokemon with Healing Move, Sub, Stored Power, and Stab to take out anything that is immune to Stored Power. So that is going to be today's video. If you guys did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like rating, as it really does help show support for the series and whatnot. Additionally, make sure to answer today's comment question of the day, which is, are you guys satisfied with the Baton Pass nerf? And make sure to subscribe if you guys are enjoying the constant content. With that, I'll catch you on the flip-flop.